Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. This is your episode for February 26, 2022. I'm your director, Christian Buckley. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, Christian. As you were introducing this episode, I was curious how many, because we don't put numbers on these episodes anymore. Curious how many episodes we have. What do you think would be your estimate?
So I think we are in the ballpark of upper 90s, maybe. I think.
Including the original run of this show.
Yes. So one could go to the YouTube playlist because every episode we've done was uploaded to YouTube. This is the only show outside of My First Mon that we do, and I guess long play, but that's here or there, that remained video optional for the entire run. So every episode we did is on there. It's not numbered, but it could be counted. I think I did that in the last month and a half, and we were close to low or mid 90s. So
I did a quick scan as you were talking, and yes, we are around 96 right now. There may be one or two videos in there that are maybe like a promo video or something, but yeah, we're in the 90s. We are in the 90s.
Yes. I also tried to do the math of this week is War Table Blog 78, and I think we started the show a couple weeks before the War Table Blog started. So, so there's some quick maths to be done, but we're almost at a hundo. We're almost Marvel's 100, I guess. I don't know.
It's wild to think about. It's wild to also think about the show, like the bones of the show started in 2019.
I know.
Which is a decade ago, as far as I'm concerned.
I've aged a lifetime since then.
Truly.
Oh, man. Well, we got some interesting stuff to talk about for the show this week. There's not too much going on in, honestly, the world of Marvel as a whole, but there's some fun things to discuss. So why don't we just dive into the little there is to talk about for Marvel's Avengers, the game. Starting out, as a reminder, currently you can get shipments for 50% off. That's 250 units rather than 500. And the Red Room Takeover event is continuing. Both of those up until March 3rd, because Marvel knows they can't do anything on that weekend, you know?
No, that is the Batman's weekend. That is fully the Batman's weekend. Are you seeing that thing?
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going that Friday at like a 2 p.m. showing because I don't want to be distracted. I don't want hype bros, no offense, cheering during this 3-hour dark, dreary Batman movie. I don't need that in my life.
That's a great call. I am seeing it that Saturday in IMAX, which I'm very excited for. And I think we'll be in a good spot, though, Christian, because, well, like what you mentioned, it's a long movie. It's 3 hours. And the tone is very dark. Like, you always mention this, I believe, regarding The Last of Us, where you find, like, the hype around that game very strange because of the tone, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that'll be very similar to the Batman, where it's, like, it's hard to be, like, hyped about this in the same way that you can be hyped about like a Marvel movie, because this is like a very dark, seemingly dark movie. So hopefully that means the audience is a little quieter. For
sure, yeah. And like for me personally, because I see the comparison you're making and I agree with it for the most part, I'm feeling, especially with that first trailer, electric hype for the Batman because it's finally a detective movie. And I've waited my entire life for that. So on that angle, yes. But on the angle of, do I want to watch the Riddler cut people's faces off? No. I'm not going to cheer for that, you know?
No. Yeah. I think this has a chance to be very dark and disturbing. I think Robert Pattinson has said he's emulated his character on Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, which is a very interesting take. So, yeah, very fascinated to see this. I was talking to my friend earlier, and I was saying this is one of those life-changing events
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I'm just really gearing up for it. So yeah, there's our DC Batman discussion.
Yeah. And listen, listeners, if you like the Batman talk, let me know. I can make something happen. We can mess with some things. We can hop into a multiverse. Oh boy.
It's certainly possible because Christian, I'm sure there's not going to be a lot to talk about probably the week that comes out. So we
Yeah.
might be in a good spot there.
Yeah. Uh, so that's basically what your week looks like next week. I'm sure if you're a fan of Marvel to some degree, you probably like Batman too, so you'll be busy that week. I will say, as an update to last week when we talked about these events, I was talking it up. I was saying I was going to be out here grinding. I was going to be getting challenge cards and going through the red room. I forgot that the new Destiny expansion came out this week when we did the recording last week. Avengers hasn't gotten even a glance from me. So
Dude, it was sad. I really tried to play the game. I got on, looked at the war table, and I was like, you know what? I've and of course I say this every time, but I was like, I've done this 1,000 times. But there's literally no incentive for me to jump in and do anything. I have all the challenge cards done, like everything that I need to do in that game that is worthwhile to me is completed. So I I was like, I literally booted it up, took 5 seconds, and was like, there's nothing for me to do, and stepped out. It was kind of sad.
yeah. So sorry. I don't think I'm gonna play it if I'm being honest at this point until March 3rd either, because Elden Ring's about to drop, and I still gotta finish the Destiny expansion. So the honestly though, truthfully, I do appreciate a live service game that I can put down. It
Oh yeah,
it just happens that Avengers I've put down since like my 4 hours with Spider-Man when he launched, and like a little bit here or there. But even again, talk of Destiny so much. There have been like 6 month stretches where I don't even think about Destiny. So, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. So
same with me in Apex. I haven't played Apex in a while, mostly because I was playing it too much, and I want to focus on like newer games or games I haven't played before. But yeah, there are just times where you step away, and well, this game we're kind of forced to step away because it's not really a lot going on. But yeah, slight hope for the future in
for sure.
future months.
It's funny you said hope for the future because that is the Sir Paul McCartney song that he wrote for Destiny. That's
Whoa,
the
that's
title.
cool.
Yeah,
Dude, I remember in like 2014, I think it was for the first Destiny. That
it
was like one
was.
of the hype quotes. Like, yeah, Paul McCartney's working on the music. It's like, what? What is that? What is that going to look like? And that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Um, there is one notable thing for a portion of the Avengers player base. I'm sorry I didn't think about that when I said it.
Mm.
Um, in the shop currently, new MCU suit, Spider-Man from Spider-Man Homecoming looks great.
Yeah. Realize that Spider-Man has no issues that any of the other heroes have because his face is always covered. So this is just a one-to-one perfect match. So that's great.
Yeah, that's why I'm waiting for the Raimi suit or the TASM 2 suit eventually to be added to the game because then I'll buy it. You know.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that they didn't really leverage the hype of No Way Home. I guess like for them, they probably didn't want to spoil the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield costumes, but like even Tom Holland's new suits, like that was a little that's interesting to me. I'm surprised they still haven't done that.
There's a fair bet that they didn't even know. Also, like,
That's true.
I think that's a very safe bet, but they'll probably come at some point. I don't know what licensing is like for all those because I know when Insomniac was going through it, I don't know if they officially said it or if there were rumors, but like the word was there were some hoops to jump through to get the Raimi suit in the game. So
Oh, that makes sense with Sony and all. Well,
yeah,
that's interesting because Sony owns Spider-Man, but
yeah,
also PlayStation. So who knows?
yeah, very unsure. Uh, there's also another thing that anybody can access that I did see, and I think is surprisingly a good value for the game. If you haven't purchased any of the Avengers Endgame suits yet, which I know is probably unlikely if you are like sitting on some currency because everybody got a skin, for 1,960 credits, you can get the Avengers Endgame skin set for the entire team, which that's like the price of one skin, and you get six really good quality ones.
Yeah, that's especially if you have credits from the challenge cards that you're sitting on, like myself, and you have none of these. Especially if you have none of these, that'd be really cool. Because then you essentially have not the whole team, but most of the team on your screen booting the game up wearing the same thing, which is cool. So that's something to look into if you have credits lying around. I don't know if I would spend the $20, which I believe that would be, to actually do that out of my pocket. But if you got credits lying around, maybe consider this.
Yeah, so give it a look. That's really all that there's new in the game at the moment. I if I didn't buy Thor from Endgame and I had some credits in my account, I would probably think about it. Uh, but at the same time, I've purchased three suits from the MCU. I have the Thor one I just talked about. I have Cap from Endgame, and I have Widow from her solo movie. And actually, no, I also bought a first event. No, not a first Avenger. Avengers One Cap.
Yeah.
Even that, like I think I'm good with just having the one suit per person, and it's the one that I like and recognize, you know. So I wouldn't double dip personally, but I do think that a bundle like this is sweet, and I would like to see them do. Maybe if they get all the Avengers 1 looks at one point, we can do an Avengers 1 bundle. That'd be fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I myself have done Cap's Endgame Skin, Tony's Endgame Skin, and I think that might be it for the MCU skins. I'll have to think. I'm planning on doing Thor's Ragnarok skin. I'm waiting for a price drop, I think. I booted up the game, like I said, and was hovering over that purchase button, and I was like, nah, not even going to play the game. So might as well wait till I can actually play the game and get it on a sale or something.
That, Jack, is called being frugal, I believe.
Yes. I try to be as frugal as possible.
Well, you're doing a good job so far. Updates. Pretty boring this week, honestly. There are some updates and changes and tweaks being done in the back end to help improve matchmaking. I did not pull the specific intricacies of it because personally for us, I know we don't really do random matchmaking. I know you messed with it a few times for some of the higher level content, and then I'm sure there are people in the community that do this, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like matchmaking, from my experience, I never had an issue with it, but if it's being improved, I think that's just a benefit and will hopefully future proof any future content that might be multiplayer related to make it good and better and allow people to get together faster, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like what you said, it matchmaking was a really big issue, I think, at launch, and I never really encountered that because I didn't matchmake. I didn't really see the point of it. I really only started matchmaking for the Omega level threat with the Super Adaptoid. And even still, I feel like I've done matchmaking without like playing with you or like Kevin or someone like that, maybe 10 times in total. Like I've run that mission probably. So yeah, for me at least, it's not that big a change, but it's good. Like what you said, hopefully this is paving the road for future matchmaking stuff.
Yeah, we can only hope, and eyes are peeled every time there's a new war table at this point because waiting for that roadmap. You know, March is about to be here. We know March 3rd is off limits, as we've discussed, but we'll see what March brings for Marvel's Avengers, and hopefully a lot of this technical stuff from this week and last week in terms of updates bear fruit of fun, exciting content that can be benefited by these changes. So,
Yep.
It's the waiting game. It's continuing. I'm sorry.
Marvel's Avengers: The Waiting Game.
Yeah, that's the award it gets this year. It's not the best podcast game. It's gonna be the waiting game award.
We already know what the best podcast game is this year.
Oh yeah, what is it?
It's Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to our spoiler discussion on the next episode of My First Mon coming out very soon.
True.
That's it for Avengers. Sorry. There's other Marvel stuff, I promise. There's interesting things still on the table this week. Let me start with this one. This one's just fun. Did you watch Peacemaker? I'm sorry we're talking about DC so much, but I promise there's a reason.
I'm glad we're talking about this. Yes, I watched Peacemaker and Christian. I adore that show.
Really?
I love it. It is James Gunn at some of his best, I would say. I loved watching, I think it was 8 episodes. I started at the beginning. And for I think it was 7 weeks because they released the first 2 maybe. I don't know. Can't do math. Anyways, I watched it week to week and I was literally very excited every time before I'd watch it. There weren't as many spoilers going around each week compared to the Disney Plus shows. Mm-hmm. So I was able to just watch it, I think, every Friday along with my pizza night, which is a great combination. Just watch that episode, have a laugh, enjoy my pizza. Great show. Love it.
So I haven't watched it. I was curious about it because I do love John Cena, but I was mixed on his character in the Suicide Squad and the film. I thought it was fine. But I do love James Gunn, and I heard very good things about the show. So I'm planning on getting to it at some point. But I did see, unfortunately, on Twitter, but honestly, it made me more interested to watch the show. The season finale had a pretty major cameo, which if you're avoiding Peacemaker spoilers, skip ahead 2 minutes probably. I saw it was Jason Momoa, Aquaman, Ezra Miller, Flash, stand-ins for Superman and Wonder Woman, but they showed up to help, or they were late or something. That was the context for the event that happened in Peacemaker. But James Gunn has talked about that scene, and apparently that scene, those cameos, were shot on the set of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, I did hear about this. I think that's so funny. James Gunn was doing his thing for Marvel, and I think he asked Marvel's permission, hey, can we use your set and use a green screen for what we're doing here for these cameos? And they were totally fine with it. And I think they were maybe in LA or something where Ezra Miller was located, or it was very easy for him to just pop in and do a very quick scene. But yeah, it's really cool on Marvel to let that happen. And I feel like that probably goes to show the appreciation that everyone sort of has for James Gunn, where it's yeah, sure, whatever. You're James Gunn. Do your thing.
Yeah, so very fun. I think James Gunn also was this is proof that you got to stop the beef, leave it in the 90s or something like that. But yeah, very cool to see. I'll check out Peacemaker at some point, but I wonder if there's any fun photos behind the scenes, like a Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, because if you remember, Jason Momoa originally auditioned for Drax, so maybe they got a fun photo op as their characters or something.
Oh, maybe we get a Jason Momoa Guardians 3 cameo.
Ooh, that would be cool.
But I do think you would really like Peacemaker because I know you love the Guardians movies.
Mm-hmm.
People say Peacemaker is like James Gunn unhinged, which might be, or I suppose untethered, he has no real restrictions, which is probably true. But I think that was the case for Suicide Squad, and I think Peacemaker is actually a lot better than Suicide Squad. Has impeccable writing, and you're right, John Cena is an absolute delight. And honestly, the whole cast of that show has unique quirks, and they're each written very well. So I would highly recommend Peacemaker. It's honestly, I think, after WandaVision, it's probably the best superhero show on streaming services released since 2020.
Damn. Well, that's great to hear because, when we talked about the Suicide Squad, it seemed like we were on the same page. So hearing you be very positive on Peacemaker makes me want to watch it sooner than I was planning on it. So, speaking of crass superheroes, got some Deadpool updates about updates. Very vague, but Ryan Reynolds recently in an interview said that he's got a batch of updates coming soon about Deadpool 3. Uh, do you think it's been what, 3 years, 4 years this year since
Ooh,
Deadpool 2?
2018. So yeah, 4 years.
And I think the gap from 1 to 2 is 3 years. And obviously, you throw the Fox merger in there. Like, it's probably time to at least hear some official thing about Deadpool 3, right? Whether that's the launching of the rated R SKU of Marvel Studios or what. But, like, do you think that's what they're waiting for? Are they waiting to announce, like, Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Deadpool films under a rated R banner? Like, what do you think?
I don't. That's interesting. I didn't consider that. I think they're. It's probably time that they've sort of filed all their ducks in a row with the Fox merger and like in terms of it actually affecting the universe. I think that is probably all set at this point, and they're probably finishing up the final details for that. Like we already basically have a confirmation for that in the Multiverse of Madness trailer. Um, so I think in terms of like an explanation for the in-universe canon, that we might be getting that with Multiverse of Madness. So if Ryan Reynolds says he has a batch of updates coming soon, maybe it's timed around that. Like maybe it's the Marvel schedule of like, hey, we need to have an in-universe explanation for what's going on and why it would make sense for Deadpool to happen. Uh, so maybe it's timed around there. So that's kind of my thinking right now.
I think that's a safe bet because for a one-to-one comparison, look at No Way Home, which featured Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and relatively soon after that happened, we're getting maybe not confirmation about whether it's canon or not, but things are moving with the Netflix shows, right? So I think you're right. I think because Fox is probably going to get brought back up in a conversation with Multiverse of Madness. It's only natural that at that point in universe, we're all on board and understand to some degree what's coming, so then they can make their future plan movie announcements. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we felt the absence of Deadpool
oh yeah,
because man, that was a worldwide takeover. I
yeah,
remember Valentine's Day of 2016. What a day. And that was great. Deadpool 2, also good. But yeah, I've missed that guy. He's great. I want more of that.
yeah. I really I love the first Deadpool, and I also really like Deadpool 2. I think that movie gets a bit too much hate. Um, but I'm itching to see a Deadpool enter the MCU, especially when it's all like there's no more rules anymore in terms of like what we can talk about and what we can't with canon and other things. Like from the man who worked a Green Lantern script cameo into Deadpool 2, I think we can get some fun MCU stuff with a Deadpool 3 probably. So,
Yep, and I'm honestly very excited for the fourth wall breaking jokes that are going to be plentiful in that movie about the merger and canon and things like that. So it's going to be
yeah,
fun.
absolutely. Well, we touched on it briefly, but we have a bit more insight, speaking on canon, about the Netflix shows because last week we discussed how they were immediately going to be removed from Netflix the beginning of March. And we now know, in some degree, what their fate is because Disney Plus Canada has announced through a graphic that they will be getting the Defenders, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Daredevil, and I believe Punisher on Disney Plus on March 16th. Specifically, it's Canada because when it comes to that service, much like other places in the world, uh, there are only certain streaming services in certain regions. So the only Disney-owned streaming service that's available in Canada is Disney Plus, where we have Hulu and I think ESPN also.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know where we're getting it yet. It's maybe gonna be Hulu or something like that, but because Canada only has the one, they get mature content on there in addition to the general Disney Plus approach. So, what do you think of this? What are you expecting on our turf next month?
Well, I certainly hope we get them on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Man, how annoying would it be to want to watch one of the best seasons of television, really ever, let's just say, with Daredevil season 1 on Hulu with ads? No thanks.
Yeah.
Bring them home. Bring them home.
You know, another point that I saw somebody bring up that made me a little worried is, remember how last week we were talking about how Kevin Feige was like, we didn't pull punches for Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking it, I said last week, I think you did too, like, grain of salt, because Kevin Feige said some things before, like, they gotta, of course, prop up with their next project. Like, pulling punches, how hard are you punching? Because if Daredevil isn't gonna be allowed on Disney Plus in America, like, what is Moon Knight gonna be pulling punches of? You know, like, or not pulling, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
compared to Daredevil, if that's not allowed on Disney Plus, how extreme are you getting with Moon Knight? Is it just comparatively? Like, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a lot harder hitting than Shang-Chi, but again, Russian man's head got chopped off with a door in Daredevil, and we had to look at it for 2 episodes. So, like, I don't know. Oh,
No, I
I
think you're
don't
right.
know.
I think I think it'll be very telling where these shows end up. Like if they do end up on Hulu, that is telling of I think future projects in the MCU
Mm-hmm.
and how they handle violence going forward. It's silly to me that Disney Plus doesn't showcase any like R-rated content or anything like that. Like, get over it. I know Disney is a very um, kid-friendly brand, but they own R-rated content and they have that. They just distribute it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can go about having a streaming service that offers that kind of content and maybe barring children from it or whatever. I think that might be the concern, but I don't know. It's a bit silly to me. Just bring them home. Get over it. You're about to have Deadpool 3. Get used to it.
Yeah, I think the shift will have to happen at some point. I hope it's sooner rather than later because regardless of where the shows end up, I'll still be able to watch Daredevil and I'll be able to watch Jessica Jones when I have the time. But I would prefer very much to not have ads on them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, because I pay for both. I have Hulu and Disney Plus, and I still pay for Disney Plus monthly. I just have to bite the bullet, but I, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. There's too many SKUs at this point.
It is. I was lucky enough to do the Disney Plus day deal. Like, I think it was in
Yeah.
2019. I don't know when that expires. I did it. It was like $150 to $60, and I just got like a 3-year subscription or something like that. It could be expiring this year or next year. I forget, but I don't really know what I'm gonna do after that. Like, it seems like there's gonna be content every month, so probably just gonna sub every month. But I don't know. There might be periods where I unsub, and then like when like Mandalorian season 5 comes out, I'll be like, all right, I'll sub again this month. Or, I really don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'm pretty sure you can buy a year at a time.
Okay.
And because I think that's what Kayla used to do. But a funny story, when I went to Disney, in the gift shops, they had like those little plastic kiosk cards that you see in Target everywhere with all the gift cards. In the resort, they had the cards of Disney Plus subscriptions, so you could spend like 60 or 70 or however many bucks it was to get a year of Disney Plus on a card. So
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see what's in store for the Defenders universe. We'll see if we get a canon reference or not. We'll see what portion of Disney Plus these shows get added to in Canada. Like, are they gonna be filed under the timeline order of the MCU? Will we get an answer? Are you expecting an answer, or do you think this is gonna be like Agent Carter, just like under that other Marvel section?
I really do think these are canon.
I
I
hope
think
so.
they were developed with the MCU in mind. Like they reference the Battle of New York and things like that in Captain America. Like they straight up reference what's going on in the MCU. I think it's very easy to slot them into the MCU unless they want to do something with the hand, which they shouldn't. Like, or if they want to mess with characters or situations that already appeared in these shows, which like, do you really need to do that? Maybe with Kingpin, maybe that's the reserve, but like, I feel like the MCU can handle what happened with these shows. Like, they really don't even need to explain it. I feel like it's very easy to slot them into canon because I think they were developed with the canon in mind. So just say they're canon and move on.
Yeah. Well, we got one last piece of information to talk about on this week's episode. Spider-Man No Way Home, the Blu-ray release date was announced. It is April 12th, just a few days after my birthday. I'm excited to dive in on that. Tons of sneak peeks of behind-the-scene footage have come out recently. I'll hit you with the facts first. 80 minutes of cut footage / behind-the-scenes footage will be added to the Blu-ray release. We've gotten wonderfully charming things from the last few days. Do you have a favorite, Jack? Favorite thing that's released? I bet I know exactly what it is, but do you have a favorite thing?
Yeah, you messaged this to me, and I instantly responded, very hyped. They did the thing. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland did Spider-Man meme pointing. I was so elated when I saw that. I think that was one of my like asks from after, because I was like, I knew they definitely did a meme photo, and they did, of course. Because how could you not? And it's amazing and it's beautiful. People have done photoshops of like them and like the actual cartoon background and stuff. So yeah, it's fantastic. I'm glad this is all out in the open. I know they did like little snippet interviews with them that they've shared on social media, and all three of them seem like very excited. They're like talking about getting into the suit. It seems like they recorded it before they did that. So yeah, I think the first thing I'll do when I get this Blu-ray is the behind the scenes, because I've seen this movie
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 times already. So probably heading there first.
Yeah, because everything they did show looks super fun. There were some stills that they released also of the three of them just hanging out and like jumping all over each other. There was also they did like a villains photo shoot and like a similar backdrop, so you could see like Otto, Goblin, and Electro doing like a squad pose in one of the pictures, which I thought was very funny. Like they looked like a bunch of high schoolers just posing for Instagram.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, all the behind the scenes stuff I'm excited to dive into. A seemingly beefy, but one of the things that I've seen thrown around a lot, and I'm honestly kind of surprised by this, is I know we've heard a lot from Andrew Garfield since the movie came out about like it was cathartic for him, it was like closure that he never got, and all these things. And I didn't I didn't think I heard much from Toby, and I kind of got the vibe that like even in the movie it was like yeah, he did this just probably because he got paid super well, and it was just like a thing that he was like, yeah, why not, let's do it. But in that snippet of that interview that you're talking about that they released, he was super excited and he was like, I'm down to do whatever else. So like, are we gonna get a Spider-Man 4? Is it gonna happen? Like, it seems like he's more into maybe returning than Andrew Garfield is right now.
Yeah, we've talked about potential sequels. We're getting a Spider-Verse movie. That's inevitable.
Yeah.
I don't even think we can speculate about that. I think that's just going to happen.
Yes.
But I think it'd be so amazing, no pun intended, to do obviously Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield, but also Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, and to just each have them have their own movie to just essentially do what they did in this movie, like have that cathartic moment, revisit the character, but also like put some things to rest and like really go and know with this movie that this is like the final time probably that they're doing the character. Because like obviously they didn't know with Amazing Spider-Man 2, like they were setting up the universe. So Andrew Garfield really didn't even get a sense for closure. And same thing with Spider-Man 3, where they were going to do Spider-Man 4 and that just never happened. So I think it'd be really cool if these actors could go into their final movie knowing it's their last appearance and really delve into the characters in that sense with that context. I think that'd be cool.
The Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man equivalent of Logan.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe
Absolutely.
not maybe not as sad, but like as
No.
deep a character study, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I would absolutely love this, and it made me happy seeing Toby very very excited about it, and him being the one who brings up the possibility of him doing more as Spider-Man. So like that just surprised the hell out of me, and what a good surprise it was. So
Yeah, and think of how much money any of those movies would make.
oh yeah,
Just like
God,
insane. Insane amounts of money.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. Sam Raimi, he's back on the Marvel bag. Toby is too. It's a matter of time, you know. We'll see. But yeah, this is a day one pickup for me. I imagine. Did you say you pre-ordered it?
Yeah, dude, I pre-ordered it on Christmas Day.
Oh
And
damn,
I've been waiting for the release ever since. And yeah, now I'm very excited.
that is awesome. So, uh, I'm sure we'll probably do a re-review when it gets its home release at that point, just to talk about it or go in depth on all the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, not that long. You know, we got Moon Knight as a stopgap, and then we just can get back into Spidey season. So
Yeah, dude, February is over on
yeah,
Monday.
that's insane. Yeah.
It's messed up.
Oh boy. Well, is there anything else left unsaid about our topics or Marvel this week, Jack, that is on your mind?
Not really. It's one of those times of the year
Yeah.
that I don't know. It's just one of those weeks. There's not a lot going on in the realm of Marvel. We're in the lead up to Moon Knight. I think that's the next big thing. There's nothing in between now and then in the MCU. Am I right?
No, there's nothing else now. So
Yeah. So it's just we're in that one of those periods where there's not much going on.
yes. So as a reminder, next episode we will be discussing Daredevil season 3. By the time this episode releases, you got a few more days to binge it and get caught up before you have to wait. If you're Canadian, 2.5 weeks. If you are in the United States, TBD. But yeah, look forward to what's going on with our Daredevil thoughts next week. Maybe some more stuff with Avengers. And we'll continue riding this wave of waiting game together. But until then, Jack, where can the agents of Excelsior find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Fascinated Jack. I will plug what Christian mentioned earlier. We have a Pokemon podcast called My First Mon. Historically, we went through Gens 1 through 3, and we talked about our experiences with that, which you can find on youtube.com/joyclicks. But right now, we are in Pokemon Legends Arceus season. We did a primer episode. We did a first impressions episode. And now we're going to do more of a like comprehensive review / spoiler review of the game, our thoughts from start to end. So yeah, you can look up for that soon. We'll be going up in the next week or so. And then after that, we're going to do more of a, I suppose, a retrospective podcast about how Pokemon Legends fits into our rankings of the other 3 games that we played. So yeah, look out for that. But what about you, Christian?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter, TikTok at Chen2D2. You can find the show on Twitter at ExcelsiorJC, youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version of Excelsior in the playlist for Excelsior, alongside a bunch of other stuff that we do. I got some Destiny 2 Witch Queen impressions up there for those that are also fans of the greatest first-person shooter of the last generation. That's not called Titanfall 2. We also will be able to direct you to the episodes of My First Mon there on the channel. If you want the audio version of Excelsior, though, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcasts. If you can rate a review on your platform, it would be appreciated because it helps us out a ton. It takes just a second to do. And if you want to help us out further, patreon.com/joyclicks is where you can go at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on this show and every show we do, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. And that's it for another episode of Excelsior. Stay tuned in the coming days, like Jack said, for another podcast from us. And yeah, that about does it. So until next week, Excelsior.
Excelsior.